Hello, welcome to Souls Intersect. This reading is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising signs, and it is for May of 2017. I'd like to apologize for not getting the Capricorn reading out for April. It's been a very overwhelming month for me, work-wise and health-wise. I decided to just push forward with doing the May readings to get those out for you. If you're interested in a private reading with me, feel free to email me at soulsintersect@gmail.com. You can also book using the link below. And I've reduced the price of my past life readings to $35 to make those more accessible. And you can read more about that on my site if you're interested. Okay, let me read through the cards first. From the top left, you have the Ace of Cups, Judgment, and the Page of Swords, the Six of Swords, the Eight of Wands, and Temperance, and then the Nine of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Seven of Wands. Okay, having the Eight of Wands in the center of the reading is a really beautiful energy. It's gives me the sense of pretty much the opposite of there being any blocks. It's purely about movement, free movement, also influx of creative energy, clarity. It can also be a transition period for some of you. Having the Six of Swords before it may indicate that some of you are moving somewhere or moving on from something. And it seems, if that's the case, the destination is represented by Temperance. So I feel that it's a more balancing place for you. It could be something like very physical, going to a place where you feel more balanced because of environment, maybe something to do with allergies or something like that. It could also be a transition or move in a figurative sense that has to do with a medication or something like that. So where you feel more balanced that way, physically, or more balanced energetically. And again, it could be a literal move or a transition of some kind into making a change. So when I said medication, it could be that you're making that transition. That does seem likely for some of you because the Six of Swords is also representing recovery of some kind. And that could also be recovery from a dependency on a substance or something like that. Temperance can be that kind of physical balance as well, but it could also be the kind of balance of energies, as I mentioned. So if it's a physical move, either to a new neighborhood or city where you feel more in balance, or back someplace, so like back home, where you're certain to feel more balanced and maybe need that for recovery in some way, physical or mental recovery. Okay, now the Ace of Cups and Judgment have some similar energies. I really feel like this newness, influx, but in this case on the emotionally fulfilling level. And the Judgment can really be about transition too, and also about clearing the air. I feel that something has transpired that definitely makes you feel like you've wiped the slate clean on a certain level and are pushing forward and absolutely gaining clarity in some way. The Page of Swords is also indicative of that. I feel like also with the Page of Swords, there is a sense that a lot of thinking has gone into whatever this transition was. And it really does feel like it just happened. I feel like you're coming out of it and it's the very beginning. Embrace that feeling there's a lot to be learned in that period, and there's a lot of healing that can come through in this period right after a transition. In some ways, it's when you feel the most clear. It might feel chaotic because things are so different and uncertain sometimes. However, you have an advantage even in that space because, again, it's this brand new period after a transition, and it's new energy to work with. And in those moments where you're first feeling that new energy, it can bring a lot of clarity and healing. Looking at the bottom row, you have the Nine of Pentacles, the Hanged Man, and the Seven of Wands. I feel like this new perspective that you're gaining is, there's a theme to it that feels like it has to do with your own independence, your own self-sufficiency. And I feel like that's something that you've been wanting to prove to yourself. My sense is that you might feel like you've failed in this respect in some way, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you haven't been able to support yourself, but more along the lines that you haven't given yourself the credit you deserve, and you were carrying something with you, maybe because of the influence of someone else, that caused you to feel like you weren't worthy in some way and needed to prove things to someone or to yourself. And you're entering a period, and I really like this Nine of Pentacles for you, Capricorns. It's in your element, and it's such a strong power card, and independence, and also the freedom that can come from independence. So that also plays into this energy. This bottom row is giving some hints, though, about some of the blockages you might have felt in the past, some of the restrictions that you might have felt in the past that have led to this new transition. I also feel like the Page of Swords can represent a person for some of you. And there's definitely a sense of part of this transition being about a new person entering in. It could be someone who's younger than you, who has ideas about things that are brand new for you. Especially with the Ace of Cups being there, it's highly possible that this is romantic in nature. But it also feels like a very strong spiritual connection, because it is coming in at this period where you have this shift in energies, influx, and a transition. For some of you, it might not be too obvious of a transition. It might not be such a literal move, or you might not have made a major change, but either way, it is a transition for you in the energetic sense. It could have to do with what's happening astrologically at this time. So it might just be happening behind the scenes. But either way, you'll benefit from the energy of it. And so it's an interesting person. It's an interesting time for a new person to come through. Because as I was mentioning, there might be some chaos and uncertainty, but at the same time, clarity and this pureness of energy. Very fascinating time to meet someone, because you could be learning something together, and or this person could be part of that learning and healing process that I mentioned earlier. But my sense is that with the Swords card, it really does have to do a lot with clarity, new ways of thinking, and new ideas and perspectives to things. Because the Hanged Man is very much about perspective as well. He's in that position to gain new perspective and enlightenment about something. The Temperance of the Hanged Man can often have the halo around it in other decks and it has to do with that enlightenment. And I wanted to say that because Temperance also has that. So and they're both major arcana, so this is definitely a strong period for you to gain insight, enlightenment, new revelations about things, and healing. All right, Capricorns, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and thank you for your patience, and I apologize for my voice. I hope you have a great month. Take care.